Hi, I'm Stephen Brett. My company is Door Training and Consulting. I was recently on QR77 with Danielle Smith, talking about is there a better way? And this she led with really the reference to the City of Calgary doing this initiative, hiring consultants to save, and actually that's the acronym, SAVE, $75 million, I believe it is, over the next couple of years, or find that level of savings. Now, I understand that RFP or that push was directed by yourself, Council, to find consultants to find these savings. Now, I'll put a link to that radio show in the comments immediately below this video so you can listen to that also. Fundamentally, here's the difference though. The approach that the city is taking based upon your direction is to find consultants, i.e. an army of people from presumably a Big Five type of consulting company, to come in and find the savings. In fact, the way the RFP is written, there's an army of 20 internal city employees that are there to serve the data requests and information requests that these consultants will have in order to make the recommendations for saving. So on Danielle Smith, we were talking about, is there a better way? I believe there is a better way, but I don't believe you really know about that better way, particularly because of the way the RFP is written. So the way the RFP is written, it assumes that, hey, the people in the city can't figure this out, so we have to hire outside people who are smart enough to find the savings. Fundamental question is, do you not believe that the City of Calgary employees themselves have sufficient knowledge in depth to be able to find that same level of savings? Secondly, I can point out, in fact, it's already happening. Even while I was waiting to get into the radio show with Danielle Smith, CUPE was running an ad saying, make sure you approach your councillor to tell them public and proud. So the seeds of sabotage are already being sown within the workings of the city. And here's the fundamental key difference that I really would like you to really focus on. When we talk about accountability, and I'm a subject matter expert on accountability, I work with the people who literally wrote the books on accountability. This is our model for accountability, the steps to accountability. Here's the key thing. I did a session some time ago, and there was a City of Calgary employee. This was when the $60 million in savings was in the news late last fall. And I used him as an example with his permission, of course. And I said, so here's what's going to happen. 15,000 employees at the City of Calgary, 14,950 of them are going to assume it's up to the other 50 to find the savings. Okay, so that happened late in the fall. Now we are bringing consultants in to find the savings. But here's the key thing. Accountability for cost savings, nothing has fundamentally changed in the city throughout this exercise. The 14,980 now, or 90, are going to assume it's up to the consultants to find the savings. They're going to be way down here, what we call below the line, not being accountable. It's not my job. And in fact, cover your tail is already happening well in advance of people looking to say why this recommendation they're going to come up with won't work, and why that recommendation won't work, or why it's not a good idea, or why it's not in the public interest, or why it's just not socially acceptable, or whatever the case is. So there's all these workings happening right now that are not accountability, that are actually the exact opposite. So you're putting more pressure from these external consultants to drive more city employees below the line to hoard and to protect and to maintain their little fiefdoms if there are people who are happy being leaders of large groups of people, protecting, well, basically their jobs, everything else. So we're putting a lot of pressure below the line, and not one single person in the City of Calgary has taken any accountability for finding any savings. That, to me, is the tragic mistake. What would it be like if we can get 15,000 people to all be accountable to find that level of savings? You've got an incredibly compelling case for change, that this absolutely has to happen. It's really not an option. We can't just put our heads in the sand and hope this problem will go away, because that's also below the line. Wait and see, just hope that things will get better, the economy will improve. That's not an option. So we have a framework in which we can have a dialogue together with the leadership of the administration, together maybe with council, maybe even with the consultants. Maybe this could happen in tandem with the consultants. But the city employees themselves, you want to create accountability for them to find savings. If the guy doing roads is going to keep on doing the roads the way we've always done roads, And until some consultant and some council agrees to a decision to completely change it, he's not going to change, or she's not going to change. So the accountability, you don't create any accountability. And then I guess the question that I ask is, should something happen in future, now with the coronavirus and other things happening, maybe there'll be even greater need for savings. Do we just need to bring in increasingly large armies of consultants to find these savings? My solution would be, and this is really where we're fundamentally different, is I don't come in to create consultant dependency. Our approach is to work with organizations. We've been doing this for 30 years with a whole bevy of global, huge multinational examples of companies completely changing how they think and act. And that really fundamentally, whether we're working on accountability or culture, is changing how people think and act in a manner necessary to achieve key results. In fact, that's how we define a culture of accountability. If finding those savings is a key result, which I believe it certainly is, and I'm sure you believe that also, then you need to create that accountability with every single person to find cost savings in paper, in supplies, in travel expenses, in on and on and on, head counts, et cetera, et cetera. But they know what needs to be done, and they're the ones that are going to work against you when you try to implement. So get them on board. So our approach, and here's why I cannot respond to that RFP. The RFP is based upon scoring, based upon an army of consultants and how much do you charge per hour. And let me give you a metaphor. It's sort of like putting out an RFP to say we have 15,000 people at the City of Calgary, we have this lake. We need an army of people to come in and fish in that lake and feed us fish every single day until some other time. Whereas our approach would be to come in and say, we want to teach you this. We want to transfer this knowledge. We want to give you the language, the models, the tools, the process, the methodology that we employ to get everybody in alignment, thinking, so that every single one of 15,000 employees thinks and acts in the manner necessary to help find that savings. So we come in instead as maybe a small group of lead fishermen who teach everybody how to fish and equip everybody with rods, reels, lures, et cetera, knowledge to know how to navigate to catch their own fish, to create sustainability inside the city. Now, the beauty of that you will never get with consultants is when the consultants leave, everybody will go, dodged a bullet, whoever dodged a bullet. People will be upset if they were impacted, but all the blame and the accountability is going to lie on the consultants. Why not with the employees? I mean, they work for the city, they work for you, they work for us, and the city's in this predicament. This problem has to be solved. There's not really an option. So that should be part of the cost of entry to be employed with the City of Calgary, is that we have to help serve the City of Calgary and get people, instead of just thinking about their own little job and their own little silo, but to work together to all take self and mutual accountability for finding the cost savings. So that's why I could not respond to that RFP, would not respond to that RFP, because it would be really a waste. And that's why I think there is a better way. The way that I would show would be a fraction of the cost, would impact all 15,000 people, and would get embedded in the DNA of the culture of the entire 15,000 employee base of the city. And in fact, the language and the tools and the models that we would teach and would transfer into the City of Calgary, so that you have your very own champions of this, will make you less consultant dependent in future, and will also make you much more agile to respond to other things that need to be responded to, whether it's another flood or some other situation. Now you've got a culture of accountability. That's what we want to leave behind, that basically carries on its own life and tackles, maybe after it's tackled the cost saving, that it can then move on to other things to improve service and efficiency and other various things. So my name is Stephen Brandt. I'm a door training. I work with the people who literally wrote the books on accountability and culture change. This is how we would approach this. We don't want you to pay me to be in there every day of the week or for 6 months or for a year to do this. I come in for certain days, we equip, we transfer knowledge, we support and sustain in the back end, so that the work and the knowledge and the successes are all happening internal. That way your people own it. And it's a lot harder to fight against something if you're part of the solution. And you know, this is so cliche when people say, don't come to me with problems, come to me with solutions. Well, guess what? The message, the experience that you've given your employees is you don't need to find solutions. We'll hire consultants to find your solutions for you. You don't even have to think. I'm being a little facetious here, but I'm ridiculously passionate about it. So here's what I would love. I'd love to have a conversation to show you and explain to you what this maybe looks like, but I'd also like to have an opportunity to compete fairly to show how this solution might compare to hiring in or bringing in a bunch of consultants, or how it can augment, quite frankly. In fact, I'd even be up for a challenge to pit your employees against the consultants and see who can do a better job. Anyway, I want to leave that with you. My contact information will be in an email that I've sent to you to include this. Please do reach out to me. I'd love to have the conversation with you directly or with a number of people together. Again, my name is Stephen Brent. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch.